had long hair and a goatee, and if his eyes were pretty glazed, if he looked spaced out, would you buy his story? Would you believe he had an eye infection? And yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Atheist Experience. We are live. Today is January 11th, 2009. Sure, we can take calls.
Okay.
We've got, is it Neil in Ireland?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear us?
Right, I can hear you.
Good.
My name's Neil. I'm an atheist, and I'm calling in. I guess I had a bit of a crisis of my lack of faith last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose I was just contemplating something I was reading about some statistics about the consequences of an expanding universe that's continually expanding, as in the heat death of the universe, i.e. that if the universe continues to expand, eventually there's going to be not even atoms present, and it's going to be so cold.
And we'll all be long dead by then.
We'll be all long dead by then, but I suppose you know, if you might, I mean, before thinking about this sort of thing, you might console yourself that you know, you have children, your ideas will go on, human ideas will go on, and yeah, we might be wiped out a lot sooner than then, but there's a chance that, you know, the ideas will go on. Mm-hmm. And I guess I was a little depressed to come to that realization. I'm just curious about how other atheists sort of find solace or meaning in the face of, you know, the total annihilation. Now, while I would recognize that, you know, religion offers solace to people, but you know, that just because it offers solace doesn't.
Yeah, one religion, your soul will live forever, right? At least one religion.
Yeah, but of course, you know, I still don't believe it, and I advocate that just to comfort ourselves when we believe nonsense. But I was just wondering how other atheists...
We're a relatively smart, you know, race, right? We're a relatively smart species, and one of our sort of curses of being smart is that we're able to contemplate our own futures. And sometimes those futures aren't very pretty. Sometimes, you know, we will contemplate the fact that we're going to be dying eventually, and we as a species are going to die out eventually, and maybe sooner, maybe later. And certainly our planet will die because the sun will engulf it someday, and certainly the universe will die of a heat death, and that's just the sort of way it is. And I guess the way I would combat it is to focus on what you can do now in the finite lifetime you have to maybe help out other people, or, you know, I struggle with this. How do you come up with something? How do you have a legacy that lasts, right? And you can do that through children. You can do that through creating things. You can do that through the influence you have on other people. But you know, it's just part of reality. It's just, you know, I mean, in a sad way, we're lucky we can contemplate our future, but you know, it's not that pretty.
There's kind of two ways to look at this, and it could be along the lines of, I could sit around and be depressed every week that this show is going to be over. And one of the ways to compensate for that is the idea that next week I'll be on, well, actually next week I won't, but in the future there's a good chance that I'll be on the show again. Yes, that's one way to deal with it, and that kind of is analogous to the idea that after I'm dead, the things that I've done may still matter to somebody else. However, there's no sense avoiding the fact that one of these days I'm going to have my last show. It's going to be my last show ever. And I could, realizing that I'm going to have a last show, let that bother me. Instead, I choose to try to do what I can to make sure that I enjoy the shows that I have and that they're as, you know, good as I can do. And the same thing is true for my life. One of these days, I'm going to be dead, and rather than worrying about that eventuality or being depressed that eventually it's going to be over, and this can be extended right up through the heat death of the universe. Yep, eventually the universe is going to be a cold, desolate place with nothing going on, And in that sense, in nothing that anybody will have ever done will have ever mattered. Well, not will have ever mattered. Nothing will matter then, but it will still matter at the moment, and that is the point. And that's what Don was saying about focusing on now. The idea that just because eventually something becomes meaningless, worthless, valueless, doesn't mean that it's meaningless, worthless, or valueless now. I have, a car. It was worth something when I bought it. It's worth something now. Eventually, it will sit in a junk heap, and it may be worth something to some collector, junk man artist. And eventually, it will return to the elements from whence it came, and it will essentially be worth nothing. But what it's worth now is what's important. It's like saying that it's, I guess, this idea of feeling overly depressed that the universe will eventually end or that your life will eventually end is, I kind of look at it as a bit like trying to have your cake and eat it too. It's just, as Don was saying, it's just the way it is. And it's not necessarily a pleasant or happy thought, but it doesn't have to be anything that, ruins your day.
I think that's a very good answer, actually. I've nothing else to say to that, really.
Okay.
It may not be the most satisfying answer, but that's the best answer that I can come up with.
Yeah, religion offers potential solutions. Some religions do. There's obviously no reason to think
they
that
offer
they're
satisfying
true.
answers at the expense of truth.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm actually kind of I debate how satisfying some of those answers actually are. But I don't want to get derailed onto a big long conversation about whether or not eternal life is of any value at all. But anyway, we appreciate the call, Neil. Thanks a lot.
You're very welcome. Thanks very much.
Yep. See, your call's over now. You knew eventually the call was going to be over.
Oh, no.
But you can enjoy the fact that you called.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. I mean, it's like, and a friend of mine, Ashley, who used to host the show and who's on occasionally, his wife she may potentially come on the show at some point to talk about death and dying and how to cope with that in secular terms. And she's a social worker and just finished getting her degree, and we're all really proud of her. Go Kim. But it's a difficult question, and I think it's one of the reasons why religion has tried to come up with some pat answers that feel good.
Yeah, we all face our own mortality, and it's not pretty. I mean, you have to, if you're lucky, you get to kind of process it before it happens. I guess maybe not. Maybe you're lucky if you don't get to process it. Maybe you're lucky if you smack into a train or something and you're taken out immediately. I don't know, but
somebody kills you in your sleep and you never wake up. You'd never even know it. It may be time for a decent Mark Twain quote. Because people had asked him if he was bothered by what was going to happen after he was dead, or if he was afraid of death. And paraphrasing, he said something along the lines of, I was dead for 1 billion years before I was born, and it didn't trouble me, so I don't see what being dead after I'm dead is going to trouble me.
Didn't inconvenience me in the least.
Yeah,
right.
that's right.